This is Chen. In this module, I'm going to introduce the concept and technique for business process reengineering. Business process reengineering is a technique which allowed us to focus on core business process and also consider how enabling technology can be used to bring organization changes to improve its performance dramatically. Here's a list of reference, including a book by Mike Hammer, James Chen, another book by Thomas Davenport, which focus on the use of information technology for reengineering purpose. Mike Hammer's article from HBR in 1990 pretty much coined the term called reengineering. So it's a classic paper that's worth reading. Davenport and Short's article from Sloan Management Review once again focus on information technology and focus a little bit more on the methodology in conducting reengineering project. Reengineering is the fundamental rethinking and radical redesign of core business processes to achieve dramatic improvement in critical performance measures such as quality, cost, and cycle time. Let's kind of parse this complex definition a little bit. First, it's about fundamental rethinking, which means we have to constantly assess why when we are analyzing a business process. And also, it's not just any business processes. We need to focus on the core business process that have significant contribution to an organization. And we're not talking about incremental improvement, we're talking about dramatic improvement. And because of that, we need to consider some radical redesign approach in order to achieve such dramatic improvement. And such improvements should be measured carefully. And the improvement can be related to quality, improve the quality, bring down the cost, or shorten the cycle time. In most of the cases that I have seen for reengineering, it tends to focus on cycle time reduction. So keep that in mind, because they are total quality management program and cost down measures in order to improve quality or to reduce cost. Let's look at what reengineering is not. It is not about automating a poorly designed existing process, and sometimes we refer that as paving the cow's path. Let me see whether I can show you a picture. This used to be my office in another university, and it's a relatively new building at that time, and people start taking shortcut, and eventually the construction worker came and they start paving this as a formal shortcut. That's what we kind of refer to as paving the cow's path. Reengineering is not downsizing. Certainly reengineering may improve our performance and allow us to do less with less. However, that's not usually the primary purpose for reengineering. On the positive side, reengineering should involve innovation, and which is about creating new product and services as well as positive thinking that are really critical to the success of business process reengineering. Let's give a process a definition. A process is simply a structure, measured set of activity designed to produce a specific output for a particular customer or market. This is according to Davenport's definition. So we can actually identify the following characteristic for a process. First, it's a specific sequence of work which certainly can be done in parallel across time and place, which means those activities can be done at a different time and different places if necessary. And process usually has a beginning, end-to-end. And by contrast, marketing is not a process because marketing is a continuous set of activity processes, so it is considered as a function, not a process. Marketing campaign, as an example, should be considered as a process because it has a specific beginning and a specific end. Process should also have clearly defined inputs and output. The output usually would be used by a customer, and therefore a process should be customer focused, which means we should look at a process from the customer's perspective. And once we analyze a process, we should have a full understanding of how the work in the organization is done related to a process. Process should have a clearly defined ownership. Some cross-functional area process may not have a clearly defined ownership, but that's where we should step in and try to define the process owners for that particular process. And since a process have clearly defined input and output, so we can easily come up with some measurable and meaningful performance measures in judging the success and value of a process. And because process was those characteristics we just discussed, it's much easier for us to get a handle on a process in terms of defining it, measuring it, and eventually come up with a way to improve it. A lot of processes are often cross-functional areas, and if we look at an organization, typically we would draw an organizational chart, which is kind of a tree structure. And when a customer knock on your door and have some needs and need to be fulfilled by placing an order or request a service, the request usually will go through different functional area, and eventually the request product or service will be returned, will be delivered to the customers. However, when you hand the task related to this request from one functional area to the other, that's where we call it white space. The white space on organization chart usually are not managed carefully. It's a place that nobody care, and however, that's where things may be fall through the cracks. And so in defining a process, particular cross-functional area process, we need to pay extra attention to those activity that's our cross-functional area, and make sure it has been handed from one function to the other properly and being followed up correctly. I'm going to ask you to watch a video on this website promoting RFID. And before you watch the video, please keep in mind the following question that you are going to be asked, and you'll be asked to actually answer the question on the online discussion forum under this unit. And so in this video, try to identify the activity and process that where the RFID has been used, and also identify how actually the benefit that has been brought by the RFID being achieved and being measured. I also want you to compare the difference between the barcode and RFID in terms of the information contents. They can be captured by the two different technology, and also how the barcode technology and RFID are different in terms of how they capture the data. Among the activity and process that you may have identified, please select the one that you consider that's the most innovative one. And last not the least, I want you to come up with a very innovative application of RFID that hopefully is something that nobody have come up with. So this concludes this introduction to BPR module. There will be more module related to BPR coming.